The NFL trade deadline was going a mile a minute with contenders and non-contenders alike swapping high-level players. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars came in and made a move that made everyone go, wait, what happened? And this is a 2-6 Jaguars team doing something that they have been doing for a long time. That's planned for the future, but in what turns out to be a really smart way, getting Calvin Ridley for a day 3 pick coming up, and then a conditional pick that can become up to a second, depending on what happens with Ridley and the Jaguars, to go with Trevor Lawrence and this young core that they are building. Joining me now from Locked On Jaguars, our pal Tony Wiggins. And Tony, no, the Jaguars are not contenders trying to fill something this season. They are building for the future. But why make this move if you're the Jaguars?
I would have done it even if they were contending. I would have done it because guys like him don't grow on trees. You can't go out. You can't go out here and go down the street and find a wide receiver who can be a number one, who can stretch the field, who can run the route tree as well. And you know this more than anybody covering the Packers. They're just not around unless you do something spectacular like give up 2 first-round picks and then extend the guy for $100 million, or just strike pure gold the way Minnesota did in the draft very, very late. And depending on that is a crapshoot, especially when you list the Jaguars' needs. Wide receiver was one of the big ones, but they had some other really, really big ones too. And where they were going to be picking, it looks like number 5 is where they are picking right now. If the season ended today, they're not going to get a guy at number 5 that's worth that pick. And then you have to come back and depend on a second rounder like Green Bay did this year. Also, it's just so hard. So when you can get a guy like that for that price, you do it.
All the Green Bay shade. Life has been hard enough in Green Bay this year.
Truth, though. But the people know how hard it is. That's what I'm saying.
Truly.
Yeah.
Last time we saw Calvin Ridley play a full season, he goes 90 for 1374 and 9 touchdowns. Last time we saw him, he was a bona fide number 1 receiver. How do you think he fits in with what Trevor Lawrence does best?
I think, well, I just told somebody else this. Well, he's fast, so he'll be able to run underneath those overthrown balls that Trevor's been throwing all year, and you won't be, you know what I'm saying? That's one thing he'll be able to do. But he's also a hands catcher and a guy who can also go over the middle, eat that route tree up, and create instant separation that gives his quarterback easier targets. So I do think it's a big time win for the Jaguars, and it's a big time win for Calvin Ridley, who ironically I believe he got suspended betting that the Atlanta Falcons were going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game. And that's when he gambled, and he got suspended from that. So hopefully by him coming here, man, things will change for him and for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How do you think he fits on this team with the Jaguars in the understanding that, look, teams that are 2-6 are not really in the position to be particularly concerned about fit. They do not have that premium receiver. So it's not like, okay, well, if he doesn't fit with Christian Kirk, you can't do the deal. But given the guys on the roster right now, how do you think he fits with what they have moving forward at the skill positions with Travis Etienne, et cetera?
I think he fits well. I think a guy like that can fit in any system. In terms of culture and in terms of chemistry, I'm going to be honest with you, Peter. Who cares? We got a bunch of nice guys on the team and they can't win. We've had a bunch of nice guys over the years that can't win. And then the one guy that everybody thought was a diva is probably going to Canton, and he went and won a Super Bowl in Los Angeles. So I think anyone who thought that we just need a whole bunch of choir boys on the team, it's not the case. And I don't think he's a terrible dude for what he did. Hell, I made some bets last night, but I don't play in the NFL. And it's against the rules, and you have to be smarter than that and be what's called a professional and understand that you can't put yourself, your career, and your team at risk.
And of course, if you're going to go place some wagers, do it at BetOnline,
where
the game starts. Have to do it. For Jacksonville this season, would you have liked to see them make a move that was a little bit more win now, given the talent on this team?
I just wanted them to upgrade. I was in the minority with the Chase Claypool. I said I would have done it. And the reason why is because they are just that devoid of physical talent at wide receiver. I would have done that. I would have moved Josh Allen. And, you know, we still got 18 minutes at the time we recorded this, but I would have moved him and thought more about the future, because they're going to have to pay a guy that I don't think is as good as everyone thinks he is. So I think it's good that they look towards the future, but good football teams do this. They take care of the now and they have an eye towards the future. And I think it's not binary. You can do that simultaneously. at least they're doing something good and adding to the football team for the future and checking off one of their boxes.
How do you think this changes the way that they approach the offseason now? Certainly, they have enough space on their roster. Guys that they're not committed to, they can bring in more receiving talent if they want to. How do you think this changes the way this spring goes for Jacksonville?
It removes the desperation because that will be Trevor Lawrence's third season. And then you can't really get a full gauge on what you have if you've never surrounded him with things that he needs. So therefore, it kind of checks off a box as long as he's reinstated, and it gives them room to not be desperate at that spot like some teams are, including the Jaguars. And they can just go out and now follow their mantra of drafting the best player available, regardless of position, obviously not quarterback, and then just move in another direction instead of trying to maneuver backwards, get extra compensation, and land themselves in a real good spot where a nice wide receiver is. And then you have to get him in the camp and develop him and all of that. You don't have that now. What you have is a bona fide guy who caught 90 balls. You know what to expect, and you're going to expect him to be who he's supposed to be. And then you're going to eliminate excuses when it doesn't work. And you can start pointing at number 16 and saying, hey, we gave you this and we gave you that, and it's still not working.
How much do you think the long-term part of this affects the decision? Like, do you think this is still a good trade, even if Calvin Ridley does not get another contract in Jacksonville?
Yes, because if they get him on the field physically, at least for 1 year, going back to what I just said, it provides you a platform and it provides you, an easel of what you have. There's a painting and you want to see what guys can do. And the only way you can see that is if you don't have the excuse of, well, my teammates aren't very good. This allows you to work your plan. This allows you to call your offense. Doug Peterson is very, very aggressive. This allows you to go full bore and not play with caution and play with brakes and kickstands. Your third wheel, no training wheels. You're just going to go all the way, and that's the only way you can have a fair evaluation of what you have. So at the very least, if Calvin Ridley is 80% of himself, it gives the Jaguars a fair canvas to really evaluate what they have on this organization.
For more on the Jaguars, check out Tony Wiggins on the Locked On Jaguars podcast on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, the Locked On NFL YouTube page, and of course, wherever you get podcasts, and check out Locked On Sports today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Thanks, Tone.
All right, man.